Bucket for bucket, let's go shot for shot. Bucket for bucket, let's go shot for shot. I called the night, so let's see who better.
Welcome to NYLFTV, presented by Bucket for Bucket Podcast. I'm your host, Kenny Saint-Vil, a.k.a. Rem, as the New York Liberty fans know me. And I am with the Rookie of the Year, Gabe Zoda from SSN Liberty. Gabe, please introduce yourself and talk to the people.
Yeah, man, my name is Gabe Zoda, beat reporter for the first year, last year for the Liberty. Amazing opportunity. Probably will be back again next year. We'll see how everything kind of shakes out there. But, I mean, learned so much about everything. Obviously, rookie season with you kind of making our marks in this kind of space. And I learned that I'm much lower on the totem pole than I thought, but I gave it a good shot. People said I did a pretty good job, so and some people said I did a horrible job. So we'll see how that goes next year. We'll keep on chopping it up, and I'm ready to go, bro. So much fun being in this space. You know, we talk about the world, how crazy it is. You look at some of the, division we have in so many avenues of our life, and we look at sports, and obviously the WNBA does its fair share of bringing that gap and talking about all those things. But man, I mean, nothing is better than just being able to sit down, talk about sports, and having at least one thing to unify us as a people, as we kind of turn into this new year. That's what I love about sports. That's my favorite part. That's why I do it. And I'm happy to be on here with you, Kenny, to chop it up a little bit, bro.
I appreciate that, Gabe. And I want to shout out to those naysayers who said that you did a bad job, because at the end of the day, that's how you know you made it, Gabe. That's how you know you made it. Because at the end, I got a front row seat to see you work, to watch you work, to watch you move up roles, deservedly so. Gabe, you're doing an amazing job. So if anybody got anything to say, keep bringing it, man. Keep bringing that hate, because I know you got that fuel and your fire and everything that you have to bring to not just the New York Liberty, whether if you're talking about the Yankees, the Knicks, the Mets. I see you, Gabe. So continue to do what you do, and I look forward to seeing you and hearing your voice on more platforms, because, like I said, you do an excellent job. And you're my Rookie of the Year. I know we joked about it on X a little bit, it being our rookie years. I posted the Grant Hill and J Kidd photo, of us being Rookie of the Years. But like I said, you've done an amazing job, and you continue to keep doing that. So let's talk Liberty. Let's talk a little bit of Liberty, because, obviously in our rookie seasons, we got to witness the New York Liberty bring its first ever WNBA championship in franchise history, and that was huge to watch that in our rookie season. So let's talk about that real quick from your perspective. Everything that you saw, knowing where the New York Liberty came from in 2023, falling short, and actually witnessing firsthand from start to finish.
Obviously the perfect redemption story, right? I felt like that was the whole arc of the season. You lose to the Aces in the final, and what was so heartbreaking, especially at home, and everyone was kind of just down, because that was supposed to be, the year, right? The start of it. And you go into the offseason, make some spectacular moves, and then the whole season kind of unfolds as we saw it. And you get to that series against the Aces, and one of the biggest things about that series, that kind of the whole narrative kind of about it, that I loved, is that the team obviously knew the whole narrative, the redemption story. The Barclays made it a whole thing to show it on the Jumbotron before every single home game in that series, to show, this is the redemption story, right? And now they were in that position, but they didn't treat it like that was the end all be all. They didn't treat it like that was the end of their story, because the whole season they knew that they were not just going to beat the Aces. They weren't on a vengeance tour. They were on a kind of a tour to prove themselves that they are WNBA champions, that they know that they could be. Had a couple players on that team that weren't able to win a championship with other teams, with other playoff rosters, obviously, throughout their careers. Come into this roster, you're able to get the whole culmination of vets that had won before, obviously Sloot, Stewie, and the rest of them. And then you have the kind of Sabrinas who let's face it, Kenny, a lot of people still will doubt Sabrina Ionescu even after she won a WNBA title, saying that maybe she isn't the point guard that we know that she is. So she was on that kind of proved tour as well. I think that's what I loved most about it, because throughout the whole season, the quote was always, we know we haven't done anything yet. No matter if it was the best start in franchise history, no matter if it was beating the Aces during the regular season, they stood tall and said, we haven't done anything yet. And I think that spoke volumes. That spoke volumes to me, to where this team is and what values they actually, they cherish on the team. So to me, once they got to the finals, it felt like they were ready for it. Such a fantastic series. Obviously, Sabrina hits the shot that we'll talk about for the rest of our lives, and just a fantastic way to end that season.
Absolutely fantastic way to end that season, and you hit it on the head, because they didn't treat that Vegas series like that was the championship. A lot of fans did. Like that's what we wanted. We wanted to see the Aces in the finals, and it kind of reminded me. I'm going off tangent. It kind of reminded me of the NCAA, the women's tournament last year, actually, when everybody kind of wanted to see Iowa and LSU all over again. And no, we didn't get them. We got that in what was that, in the Final Four, or was that at the Elite Eight that we got that matchup? I believe it was Final Four. And this was kind of like us getting the Aces in the Final Four. We didn't get that finals matchup that we all wanted, but we got to see the Aces, and they defeated them. And it wasn't. I don't feel like they struggled a bit. I felt like they knew what they needed to do. They came in, job not done. And as you said, every game on that Jumbotron, kind of replaying the words that was said. If you went on X, you saw all of the stuff that was said at the parade, at the Aces parade. We did not have that short-term memory like everybody remembered. But at the end of the day, the players knew that they had to get a job done, and they did exactly that. And when you just like look at what they did, and had to go see the Minnesota Lynx, who wasn't an easy test. We saw the Minnesota Lynx, and we struggled with the Lynx all season. And as you spoke about the shot, we were there to witness the shot. So first, before speaking about, we'll speak about the Lynx, but I also do want to speak about that Sabrina shot too, because you did say something that stood out to me about a lot of Sabrina having a lot of naysayers. One of the best guards in this league right now to date has hit the greatest shot in New York Liberty history, in my opinion. But you look at the transition of Sabrina's game from last year. You go into the finals throwing up in a bucket to hitting arguably the greatest shot in franchise history. The development of her game, Sabrina's defensive game this season, I think she doesn't get a lot of credit for the things that she's done defensively. She's had a lot of big stops in some of these playoff games. Also, that floater, there's just a complete change in Sabrina's game, and I look forward to see what else she has to bring. But I'm getting long-winded. Let's talk about Sabrina's development real quick, and let's also talk about that Lynx matchup.
Yeah, so let's start off with the development. I mean, if you want to know what kind of mentality Sabrina has outside of the Mamba and the Kobe connection kind of stories that have came out over the years, I mean, there is nobody who mimics the Sabrina, the Kobe mentality more than Sabrina Ionescu, in my opinion. I mean, look at there was an Unrivaled video a couple days ago. They were juggling soccer balls. And she on her first attempt, she got 11 or whatever, and she was pissed about it. She was so angry about herself. She's like, I need to be better. I need to be better. So she goes through practice, and then after practice, she picks up that soccer ball again and keeps on juggling it with her feet. And then she gets to 20. She's hyped that she gets to 20. And then even after she gets to 20, which was her goal, she was like, I'm not good. I need to be better, right? That's the mentality that Sabrina Ionescu attacks every single offseason with. And I think the biggest thing that we saw was the fact that she had a healthy offseason last year. She was able to really get in the lab, get in the gym, work on that floater, something that she knew that she needed to get to. But even with that floater, we saw more aggression from Sabrina Ionescu. In years past, with those injuries, she wasn't as aggressive getting to the rim. That was something we saw throughout the season she was able to do, really bring that physicality out and not only hit that floater, but she'll dive in, get that contact and hit the layup as well with getting the end one. That's what she brings. That's the next level for Sabrina Ionescu, because a lot of people will always say, oh, she's just a shooter. She's just a shooter. They know her for doing the 3-point contests. We know that's not true. And now this year, a little thing with the thumb, had to get surgery on it. Not a perfectly healthy offseason, but what can you do without a thumb? You could still get your cardio in. You could still learn how to play defense a little bit better. That's the next level of her progression. But I don't think she'll ever be no defensive player of the year candidate. But I think next year she comes in much improved on the defensive end and uses those more tailored finishes as well. Because in Oregon, she had that floater. But at the first couple seasons in the WNBA, she didn't really use it as much. Obviously, she got hurt a couple times as well. But now she's developed to gotten back to that bag, and she's been fantastic, man. I mean, once again, some people will tell you Sabrina Ionescu, oh, well, she needed Stewie and she needed the super team to succeed. That's absolute nonsense. I mean, Sabrina Ionescu, absolute professional. And once again, that mindset is just incredible. You don't see that from people a lot, especially you'd think that more athletes would have that. A lot of athletes say they have that, but she exemplifies it. She doesn't say it. She never says, oh, I have that, mom. She never says it. She just goes out and does it. That's exactly the type of person you need.
She performs with that Mamba mentality, and going back to, as you said, her thumb, the UCL, or was it the UCF in the thumb that she tore in her shooting hand? That was in Game 4. And Game 5, didn't have the greatest shooting performance, but again, she had key stops at the end. She made some key plays during that period, and I kind of like compare that to, again, I know we're gonna keep going back to the Mamba thing, but Kobe Bryant, what year was it? It kind of blowing my mind, but 6 of 24, Game 7 in the NBA Finals. He shot 6 of 24. But I don't know if you remember, he pulled down 14 rebounds that game. Ron Artest ended up having one of the biggest games of his life, and the Lakers went on to win that finals. And, you know, a lot of people will sit there and they're just like, oh, Kobe shot horribly. And he won. Sabrina won. Sabrina, in May, when the Liberty are set to start the 2025 season, that Game 1, they will be receiving rings. Sabrina won. So, like, no matter what, it's a team sport. Some days other people have it going. Some days the role players have it going more. But the thing is, like, what else can you do? And that's something that I love so much about Breanna Stewart's game, is Breanna Stewart is not only is she a 3-level scorer, she's a 2-way player. She does every single thing. I've never seen a bad game from Breanna Stewart. And when I say that, I mean that wholeheartedly. I haven't seen a bad game from her. She could shoot the ball like shit once or two sometimes. Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen that. But you look at the other things, her getting her teammates involved, the stocks, the rebounding. She's an excellent basketball player. The way that she talks to her teammates and keeps getting them involved, those are the kind of players that you'll run through a brick wall for. Having people like that on your team is vital. So, again, I think it's super dope to have a Breanna Stewart, to have a Courtney Vandersloot, for somebody like Sabrina Ionescu to learn under. And my last point about the Kobe thing, the reason why I love that she's a Kobe protege, I know a lot of fans get a little overexcited when they see these expansion teams. They're like, oh my gosh, Golden State, oh, Portland, oh, Toronto, all of these, everybody gets crazy. I'm going to argue that Sabrina is cut from the Mamba cloth. I don't think Sabrina's going a damn place. And, I might be getting ahead of myself. I don't know what she wants to do with her future, her family, or anything, but there's a certain type of player and superstar that stays. When you talk about the Kobe Bryants, the Dirk Nowitzkis, the Diana Taurasi's, that stay with that one franchise, the Tim Duncans, that stay with that one franchise, I feel like Sab has that in her, but
yeah,
I know
I fully agree. Sabrina, you talk about just that ability to want to be on the same. I mean, she said after the finals at the parade, I guess I'm a New Yorker now, right? Now I had the Ionescu shirts, the Nike promotion. She is, at this point, I think we all can agree, she is a New Yorker. I do want to say something, though. You mentioned, I just want to tag on to that Stewie conversation that you meant just quick here. In the beginning of the season, and I know you remember this, Stewie wasn't scoring the ball well. She wasn't shooting the ball, especially from 3. She couldn't hit a lick from beyond the arc. And a lot of people were like, oh, what's going on with Stewie, blah, blah, blah. But my favorite moment of that season, my favorite question that I asked Stewie that season was, right now, and when she was struggling from the field, you are averaging the most stocks you have ever averaged in your entire career up to that point, right? And it was the reason why it was my favorite because she didn't know what stocks were. So it made me feel like, oh, maybe I know a little bit more
I
about
put you
basketball.
on to something.
Yeah. Maybe I knew something. And but that's what she does. Even if she's not shooting the ball well, as you mentioned perfectly, she is playing extra on defense. And to me, that's the mark of a champion, obviously. And we mentioned that with Stewie's Sab's progression as well, and the rest of the amazing woman on that team, just finding ways to impact the game no matter what it is.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I do remember that question. I think it was a post game, or was it a
Yeah.
pre? It was a
No,
post game,
post
yeah.
game.
And
Yeah.
you did say something about stocks, and she looked, and I
Yeah,
think Brian was like stills and blocks. Yeah, I remember.
yeah.
Yeah, definitely remember that one. So yeah. Um. So all right. Obviously, the Liberty win a championship. A lot of things going on, but we have to deal with the expansion. We have to deal with the league growing, which is a great thing. But at the end of the
Yep.
day, with expansion comes the expansion drafts. So after all of the celebrating, um, right after that, we have to deal with the expansion draft a couple weeks after, and we get the news that Liberty forward slash guard Kayla Thornton has been selected by the Golden State Valkyries. What are your thoughts when you hear that? Is that a big hole to fill when you see the New York Liberty lose a player like Kayla Thornton?
Now, if you're a casual fan, you're gonna say, "Oh, well, I mean, it's not like she played, so who really cares?" But if you saw the game like how we saw this team, and we saw the connection, the relationships that Kayla Thornton had on this team, I mean, she meant a lot. She was a real vocal leader, obviously an emotional leader on the floor, off the floor, and she was just a bundle of joy to be around, and always making everyone laugh. Right? Have all these cool quotes of her doing all these Liberty videos with the Domino's pizza, all this other stuff, right? And it was just great. And it is a big void to kind of fill. You had that relationship with her and KB that felt like, I mean, they were just
Yeah.
the duo, right? And fine, they might not have played a bunch, they might not have been the most important players at times, but those are the types of relationships, those are the types of bench players that make a team. Let's transition over to the NBA just to talk about, guys like campaign for the Knicks that are just up and down emotional leaders. Guys in the past have been that way as well. Those are the type of players that you need on the roster. The bench player that the fans love and that the team loves even more just because how much they bring to the team. Obviously, defensively, nobody wants to have to be guarded by KT. So that player for Golden State, KT is going to be a great starting player for that Golden
Yeah.
State team, and for the Libs. I mean, it's going to be who really embodies that, right? I think that's the next big challenge because you look at the rest of that team, and let's face it, the rest of that bench, it's a little bit more quiet. They're humble, they're great players, but they're more
Yeah.
humble, reserved in themselves. They never really show it like KT did. So if maybe you can get someone like that to kind of fill that void, it would help because I think that void is going to be bigger than a lot of people realize.
Yeah, same. I agree 100%. KT is wow, like KT, I fell in love with KT's game and just the way that she is, how unselfish she is. But for me, when I heard on the expansion draft and I heard Ohema and Coach talk about the kind of player that they were looking for in this draft, and I was just like, oh yeah, KT's gone because that was
Yeah.
exactly what they want: an unselfish player, someone who doesn't care if they start, finish, comes off the bench like a defensive player, someone who can stretch the floor. Like that is what KT embodies. So. Is there anybody on the roster that you think could kind of fill that void at the moment? Because we just heard the Liberty renounced the rights to a couple players, but they did send qualifying offers to Jalen Sherrod, the training camp contract, another training camp contract, Maureen Johannes, also Rebecca Gardner. Rebecca Gardner from she's a pretty good two-way player by side, and I can argue that she's a better offensive player than Kayla Thornton was, but might not have that same fire. But do you think there's anybody else on that team that can kind of step into that role?
All right, let's take the next like minutes to talk about Jalen Sherrod, my favorite player on this team, because I
Yeah.
mean, first of all, her story is fantastic, and from the where she came from, Alabama, and then she goes to school, and she just never was the player that was the flashiest, never was the player that got the most attention, right? But that's the type of player that, guess what, you bring into the locker room. That's the type of player that helps you win a lot of these games. I know that maybe Jalen Sherrod might not have the most impact, might not have the biggest spot on this team, but I think she is the type of player, the type of person to come in and be that kind of energizer bunny off the bench, especially on the defensive end, right? Last year she shot 33% from three. You get her in the lab this offseason. I know she was with the USA doing some work. Obviously, she's going to do more training camp stuff with the team. You get her to maybe 36, 37% from beyond the arc, and that defense that she presents on the other side of the ball. I mean, that's a player right there. And you know she gets hyped too when she drives to the rim, because she's super
Oh
aggressive.
yeah.
That's the kind of player that can come in, play a couple spot minutes like KT did at times, and be a big factor, energizing the crowd when the team needs them most, energizing the team at certain times. I think that's the type of player that could really make a difference for this team. I'm super high on Jalen Sherrod, maybe higher than I should be, just because of how much I like kind of the way she plays the game. It just reminds me of like the way that I would play the game if I ever got a shot in the league somehow, right? That's why I just like her so much. I think she's the player that does that.
Same here. And like you, my favorite person on this team, like Jalen Sherrod, her story, everything. When I saw Jalen Sherrod, my first time coming to the open practice, and then in training camp, and I was just like, wow. I was like, I'm looking at Jonathan Kolb, and I'm like, yo, you have a decision to make, and it's gonna be tough. And obviously, the way it started, Liberty elect to go with 11 players for the start of the season, but when J Rod came back on that 7-day contract, she signed 3 7-day contracts, and within that, she had a couple of big games. That big game against the Wings, against the Dallas Wings, it was just evident, like, she belongs here. She belongs here. I'm not gonna lie to you. I am disappointed that the offer is another training camp offer.
Yeah.
I personally, in my heart of hearts, believe that she's earned her spot on this team and she belongs on this team. WNBA champion, Jalen Sherrod, undrafted out of Colorado, belongs on this New York Liberty roster, and what she brings to the table, I think is high level. I think you can't teach stuff like that. When she has
Mhm.
players like Dana Evans that you're giving trouble to, players like Dejanay Carrington that you're giving, like, veterans coming into the game. I go back to those preseason games in Chicago. We got obliterated, but as soon as J Rod got into the game, Teaspoon had to call a timeout. Two back-to-back plays. She gets the steal. She forces a turnover. Um, Jalen Sherrod's story is amazing, and I don't know if you remember this. I believe it was Game 4 of the WNBA Finals when meeting up in the we're meeting up at Target Center,
Mhm.
and all the players are there, and she's locked in. She's on a laptop. She has a laptop. Everybody's
Yeah.
interviewing. She's literally in class. She's in
Mhm.
class at the time while everybody's going through it. She went back to school to pursue her second master's degree, which is awesome. And within all of that, gets the call from Jonathan Cole, like, come back to the New York Liberty. So watching her story and watching to see where everything goes, Jalen Sherrod also, she's back from China, and she will be playing in Athletes Unlimited this March in Nashville. So I'm looking forward to that. I will be going to Nashville to cover Athletes Unlimited a little bit. So definitely looking forward to that. And I think this is a great 5-on-5 experience for her to kind of just help her out with where she needs to go. She'll be with a lot of veterans as well. They might not be Liberty veterans, but she'll be with a lot of veterans that been in the W, veterans that are trying to get back to the W. And I think this is going to be a great opportunity for Jalen Sherrod. This should be dope.
Yeah, and
Now,
she's not
yeah,
without her mistakes. She sometimes she is over aggressive. Sometimes she'll turn the ball over when she's trying to make a cool pass, right, when she's driving in the lane on a roll. But she makes aggressive mistakes. Something that I always hear in basketball circles, whether it's, listening to NBA coaches, WNBA coaches, high school coaches, right? They all say the same things. Aggressive mistakes are good mistakes. It's the sloppy mistakes that are the bad ones. The mistakes that Jalen Sherrod makes are aggressive mistakes. They're not mistakes with the lack of knowledge or presence on the court. There are mistakes because maybe she's overthinking something, rushing something, but she knows it's there and she has the foresight to know it's there. But, sometimes the aggression, it's a double-edged sword at times. So sometimes that bites her in the back end. But those are the types of plays that you get in Athletes Unlimited, you get in China, you get the USA kind of experience. And it makes a big difference in one offseason. How many coaches she's probably dealt with. She's obviously a super respected player in those teams because she can learn. She's great at just absorbing knowledge. I mean, double masters. I mean, who has that? Only her. So that's something that's just it's super honorable to see for a player like Jalen Sherrod. I think she has a big impact next year.
Yeah, absolutely. Big impact. And I do hope to see her making that team after training camp. It should be fun to watch. It should be definitely fun to watch. Oh yeah. Because there's a shit ton going. There's a bunch going on. My bad. This is a family show, and I've cursed for the second time. This is I don't know what it is, Gabe. You got me started, man. I've never cursed on this.
It's the energy. It's the energy, bro. Never got energy like this.
It's the rookie energy. It's all good. It is all good. We got to talk about some of the free agency. Let me know if I'm getting a little bit too, if I'm going overboard right now. But
let's go.
Yeah, free agency, because we have a big general on the board. Courtney Vandersloot is a free agent this season. And I don't know if you saw her comments on the Unrivaled Media Day. We'll speak about Unrivaled a little bit, but Unrivaled Media Day, I'm paraphrasing, Courtney Vandersloot is testing free agency and is going to be looking for the best option for her family, the best decision for her family. She still feels like she has a lot of basketball left in her. That's what I surmised from her comments. It sounds like, again, what I'm surmising is I still want to start. And I believe I can start. And just to throw on top of that, in this offseason thus far, Courtney Vandersloot has been in Chicago this whole time. But besides Miami, she's been, I think, to a Bears game. She's been doing a lot of stuff in Chicago. And her history with Chicago. She won a chip. At her and her wife Allie Quigley. So, what were your thoughts when you heard Courtney Vandersloot on free agency, and what do you think this is going to turn out to?
I think one of the things she said as well was that she still feels like she's part of the Liberty, right? That's kind of her mindset. But obviously, she's going to explore everything, see whatever fits her and her family the best. I think that quote, that small little bit there, speaks volumes that she still feels like she's part of the Liberty and what they're growing. Obviously, there will probably need to be more talks here because as the games went on last year, fans were up and down on whether she should start, come off the bench. Obviously, she did start coming off of the bench later in the year. In that season. So you have to have those conversations. And, I think that Vandersloot could be a starting player on a team that, that's like really like fighting through the middle of the pack of the league. My personal opinion, I don't think she's a starting player on the Liberty next year. I just don't see it. I think that she's a starting player on, take the third, fourth, fifth best teams. I think she could start there. I think her presence still on the defensive end is there. At times, I think you can't go without her experience, though. I think it would be a big loss if the Liberty lost out on Vandersloot next year. And a lot of the fans might think that I'm kind of overstating her greatness by saying this, but I think that her impact on the floor, we talked about it with Sabrina, that impact with coaching up a player like Jalen Sherrod, coaching up a player like Marquisha Davis, right, as well, who's working her way in China. Those are the players that those are the vets you need on a championship winning team. And, if Sloot chooses more playing time over maybe being a veteran presence, okay, I'm okay with that. But I think if you're Jonathan Kolb, I think you need to find a way to bring her back and make that happen as fast as possible because as the offseason goes on, she's getting a lot more talks, and maybe she wants to go back to Chicago. I mean, they're building something over there. Let's not pretend that they're not. We might hate on their management, hate on their ownership because they stink. But I mean, they're building something over there with Reese and Cardoso, so and Kennedy Carter. So I
Yeah.
think that that's definitely an option for her, and I wouldn't be surprised if she ends up back in Chicago.
That's that too. Um, I I I don't know. I think that that might have been the first thing that you've said all year that I disagree with you.
Okay.
Because if you don't know, if people don't know, I love Sloot. Sloot's like my
I know
favorite.
you love Sloot.
Like,
Yep.
like Sloot's like my favorite. So there's like no Sloot shaming. Anytime I'm on X and I see somebody like talking crazy about Sloot, I have to remind myself, I'm like, yo, this is social media. Don't go into no back and forth. This is not worth it. You're not getting paid for this. Just forget it. Just forget it. But yeah, Sloot to me is to have a player like Courtney Vandersloot on your team, not coming off your bench, but on your team. I think that's like one of the biggest gems ever. She's one of the smartest, high IQ players to ever play this game. I know she's one of the elder stateswomen, but she's still a sneaky on the defensive end. I don't think she needs to play extended minutes, but for me, during the regular season, I would still love to see Courtney Vandersloot start on the New York Liberty. Our death lineup with Leonie Fibich in the starting lineup, that's a playoffs thing. For me, when coach actually made that adjustment for the Atlanta series, I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, why do this now? Because I thought it would be a change for the finals. I thought it would be an adjustment for the WNBA finals. And
Yeah.
I was just like, yo, I feel like we're just showing our hand way too early. But obviously I was wrong on that. And this is why I'm here and coach gets paid to do what she does. But at the end of the day, I just really feel like Sloot has a lot to bring to the table. I still want to see. I selfishly want to see her break Diane a Sue Bird's assist record. She's like 380 assists away from
Yeah.
being number one, and I'd love to see that. But there's a team that I think Courtney Vandersloot would do really, really good in, and would actually put them to the next level. And we literally just saw them. I think Courtney Vandersloot on the Minnesota Lynx, I think that
Mm.
would be a problem because you're looking at somebody like Courtney Williams, who's traditionally a guard, a shooting guard. She's not really a point guard. She
Yeah.
was forced into that point guard role. You put Courtney Williams back to the two, and you put somebody like Courtney Vandersloot, who's still again, like I still think has a lot in the tank left and can still bring something to a team and playing under a coach like Cheryl Reeve. And I do believe that she did meet with Minnesota before she signed, before she came to New York. So who knows if Minnesota does reach back out? I think that would be a move that would kind of like, help them a little bit. I think that move right there would kind of like be like, you know what, this is the move that's going to help you cross that totem pole and get that title next season. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean that would be a great spot for her because you mentioned Courtney Williams, and then off the bench they had Heidemann as well, but another offensive guard she is. You get now Vandersloot to be that traditional point guard. Some teams need that. Like look at the NBA again. I'll cross back over. Look at guys like Mike Conley, right?
Yeah.
That's a player that I think. Okay, I guess Mike Conley, Minnesota as well, right? I mean, but that's a player that I make that kind of transition to where you need a normal traditional point guard at times, and there's a lot of combo guards in the league in every basketball league right now, and it's something actually now that you bring it up, it's something that Cheryl Reeve talked about during the finals, kind of this transition from having traditional point guards to having more combo guards. And that Sloot is one of the last traditional point guards in the WNBA, and how much she values that kind of traditional point guard player on a team because, you get to be that get to be in that position to where fine you'll impact, you'll score whenever you need to, but everything is running through you, and it takes a lot of genius to be able to do that. Look, I want Vandersloot back, but all I'm saying is I could see her very well be on another team next season. I wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen, and only if because I don't. Once again, we'll disagree on this. I don't think that she's going to start a majority of games if she comes back to the Liberty next year. You might think differently. That's fine. But I think if she leaves for playing time, I'll be okay with it. any other reason, I won't be okay with it though.
Yeah, I got you. I got you. And I agree with you 100%. I'm just being biased and selfish over here because I want Sloot to start. I want
Yeah,
Sloot to break that record. Like
I
this is all
got you. I
me.
got
This is not selfless at all. I'm just
you.
being selfish over here. But yeah, definitely would love. I definitely am looking forward to see how this all plays out because free agency is going. It's going to be a buzz. There's a lot going on. You even when you speak about stuff like Jewel Lloyd wanting out of Seattle. All of the free agents. I know Stewie's a free agent, but she was just cored again as expected. And then Satu Sabali, we have to speak about that because Satu on Unrivaled Media Day, day one, announced that she will not be returning to the Dallas Wings. And that was a big bomb dropped on everybody. And because you like look back a couple weeks, where has Satu been? She's
Yeah.
been in New York. She's been on the Liberty floats for for the championship. Her sister's here. Sabrina Ionescu's here. Leonie Fibich is here. There's so many connections and ties to New York. Even on that same Zoom, she goes, "Hey, I identify as a German player, but I was born in New York, guys." Like, she confirms all of that stuff, and that's her like throwing a little bit salt and just making us like go crazy a little bit. But what were your thoughts on that comment? And do you think the Liberty should pursue Asatu Sabali?
If Jonathan Kolb and the Liberty don't pursue Satu, then I don't I think I turn course on them being geniuses. I think you have to obviously pursue Satu, just a really good player, a really solid player, a star in her role for Dallas last year. And you look at this team, what the Liberty team, what were they built off of? They were built off of these forwards who can play defense at a good clip, who can be who
Multiple positions.
exactly, who could switch on defense against multiple players as well. I think Satu would fill that role perfectly because there were times where in a game where you're like, wow, if we just had a player next to JJ in a game where maybe Stewie was resting at times, you need a player like there. My only issue about that is that I think then the Liberty would have too much size on the 4s and 5s because I just don't know how you would. I guess that's on Sandy at that point, but I don't know how many minutes you would then go JJ, Stewie, and Satu. You could have a lineup that's Stewie, Satu, JJ, and we'd all be fine with it. But does that work schematically? That's something that they'd have to kind of figure out. I would love it. I know fans would love it. When you look at kind of under the hood on if it makes sense, I don't know if it makes sense, but I'm all for it. I mean, you got to make that happen. But I don't know. I think Kolb and kind of this general manager position, they love finding players, right? I feel like Satu, it would be a layup, and obviously everyone will take her if you can. But I think they're really grinding something. I think they're looking for another Leo. They're looking for another player like that they can bring on rookie contract, not have to pay a whole lot of money right now, and just have the best value for your buck right now. I wouldn't be surprised if they went that route again this year.
Yeah, yeah. And the Liberty do have the assets. I do think that they have assets, but I wouldn't trade Benijah Laney. I wouldn't trade Leonie Fibich. I wouldn't trade any of those for Sato. I think it's a great story. First of all, I think it's a great story because I would just love to see obviously her and Sab get an opportunity since they didn't get that opportunity and it was cut short by COVID. They didn't get to this is one of the best stories ever to me personally. If they were supposed to link up and win it all together after what happened at COVID, like they were the favorites. I
Yeah.
in my heart of hearts believe they would have won it all, and that was literally just stripped from them. And for if they could get together, that would be dope. But I look at this team, I look at this roster, what the Liberty was able to accomplish. It's not by like being loaded with a bunch of stars and like the role players, the schematics, everything that the Liberty did to get to the point that they are. It was well thought through. Leonie
Yeah.
Fibich was on the Liberty radar. The, nobody was like nobody had Leo on their radar. Everybody
Yeah.
wants Leo now.
Hmm.
Everybody wants Leo. So you even look at the other Ivana Dojkic. She's a great shooter. Great. She didn't play a lot of basketball, but she's a great shooter. Like they've made those kind of like those picks, like you said, they kind of want to discover something. They want to drop something new. Like, yo, this is it. This is the new person right here. So I agree with you. I don't think that they are going to necessarily pursue, but again, they say Satu said some things that she would love to play with Sabrina in the future. She'd love to play with
She
her
looks
sister.
she looks good in a Liberty uniform. I'll tell you that. I've seen those jersey swaps. She looks good in a Liberty uniform. I would
Yeah.
not be mad at all if they made that move.
Yeah, I wouldn't be mad either.
They
It's
gotta
tough
get
though.
Yeah, but they gotta. We talk about kind of how they find these undercover kind of talents that end up being studs. I think they got to get our boy Alfred into that scouting team, international scouting team over
Oh
there.
yeah, yo,
Yeah,
I've been telling Alfred. I've been telling Alfred. I said, yo, bro, you're going to work for somebody's WNBA team one day,
yeah,
doing some scouting. I'm telling you, man, because what the work he does too, like most of the international players, I find out because of him. Like I look at
yeah.
and I'm like, oh snap, this is dope, and I do my research from there. But yeah, shout out to Alfred Corriette, um, of her hoop stats. We got to shout him out. That's gonna be something dope to watch, man. Like when he's working for a WNBA team
Yeah.
while you're on ESPN or whatever the hell it is, your voice, like I'm telling you, it's gonna be dope. I cannot wait to be like, yo, I know these guys. I worked with them. Like it's gonna be super dope. But oh yeah, so enough of Satu because I don't want to get I don't want to get ahead of myself and like get super hype. For me,
Yeah.
I personally would run it back. I love the roster that we have. I would run it back. My biggest thing would just be finding that void to fill for KT because that's a huge loss. And figuring things out with Courtney Vandersloot. If Courtney Vandersloot is not in the fold, then I do think the Liberty need to be aggressive in the offseason in terms of like figuring out who will be that new ball handler, who will
Yeah.
do these certain things. But I do like that they did extend an offer to Marine Johannes because
Hmm.
it's a possibility to see her back in Seafoam. Now that would be great off the bench um, to see how that works out. But what else did I have for New York Liberty? Did you have anything that you wanted to speak about? Did I miss anything for the New York Liberty?
Nothing really. I do want to ask you about Unrivaled though, like kind of this landscape. You talk about free agency, you talk about how everything's kind of stirring up. And I mean, let's look at Unrivaled. It's a perfect place for recruiting. I know Sabrina's kind of taking the back foot, saying, I'm not recruiting with Satu. I'm letting her make her own decisions. I'm just being the friend right there. But how many other teams are, having players recruiting a little bit? How does this change the game? Because I know overseas you could still have these teams that have a couple WNBA players on them. During the Olympics and other FIBA events, you have these culminations of players as well. But now this is every single season, every single kind of winter. You're having this culminations of not only WNBA players, not only good WNBA players, but you have the 30 of the best or 36 of the best
36,
WNBA
yeah.
players in the entire world. Like, and all of the women are eventually going to be in free agency. What's going to happen in 2026, right? When they're negotiating the new CBA, because that makes nobody's making a contract for the next a year or two for a long-term contract because they're waiting on that CBA. They know the real money's coming then. So what happens that winter when the CBA is getting talked about, the money's getting talked about? How many teams are going to form off that 3v3 that could go, hey, I like how this looks. Let's put this to a 5v5 squad on a different team and let's get this thing cracking. I really think that Unrivaled changed the landscape of free agency.
Oh yeah, they absolutely have. And as we're speaking right now, something's going down. They're talking to each other. They've been talking to each other. They've been shacked up with each other for so long. But what I like about this is they get an opportunity to kind of like fill each other out, see how each other plays. And I'm telling you now, this come free agency, we're going to see a lot of things that were made because of Unrivaled. We're going to see some connections that were made because of Unrivaled, and I believe that in my heart to heart. What Unrivaled did here, especially with their rollout, the way that they're treating the players, the way that they're just rolling everything out, they're putting pressure on the WNBA. And who was it yesterday? De'Erica Hamby said it best because I know a lot of people are asking questions and they're like, "Oh, Unrivaled versus overseas, Unrivaled versus the WNBA," and it's like yeah, they're businesses in competition with each other, but they're also not like any, and there's no hate towards each other.
Yeah.
There's no, because I'm unrivaled, we're like F overseas, or we're like, oh, the WNBA. No, this is all opportunities for expanding the growth of the game. And it's kind of like what Unrivaled is doing is setting the bar, setting the standard that I believe will help the WNBA get better. It will help overseas. We'll see a lot of different play. Maybe some players from overseas come play Unrivaled. We don't know
Mhm.
what it will grow into, but Unrivaled is definitely setting the bar and setting the standard for how these women should be treated, and like we can do better. We can definitely do better. But you bring up a big point about that CBA too. Funny is I believe, because the way everything's just happening so fast, Gabe. I
Yeah.
think I think we're going to see a lockout. I think we're
Uh,
going to see a lockout when that comes, when it's time to negotiate that CBA, because there's so much that these ladies deserve, and I know they're going to fight their asses off for it. But the WNBA is just kind of slow with getting everything that they need to for these
Yeah.
players. I don't know how much of a fight it's going to be, how much of agreements there will be when it comes to that CBA, especially with all that new money, all of these new TV deals. So I'm looking forward to see how that all transpires. Me personally, I do think, and again, this is just me throwing stuff out in the air. I didn't read anything, I didn't see anything, but I personally believe a lockout might be on the way for the WNBA when we speak about how fast it's growing.
I think of it like this, Kenny. I think of it like you have a really young kid with you, right? You're the parent and you have a really young kid who's full of energy and the kid sees something that they really want, right? Obviously, in this example, it's the WNBA players who really want more money, they see all the hype, all the opportunity on their way. So the little kids like the players. They're running, and but you're holding the little kid by the hand, being like, "All right, calm down, calm down, calm down." Like just trying to not stop them from pursuing what they want, but just being like, "Yo, chill out a little bit. Let's see it out. Let's see what's going on." But honestly, in this position, I think the kid is 100% right here. But the parent is always going to be like, all right, chill out. Let's just make sure everything is good before they go the full blow at the end. I think that's the kind of situation that we see in all sports. But right now, we're seeing it right now in the WNBA, especially with the players. They're seeing the hype. They're seeing the TV deals. They see what's the potential for them, and they want it now. They want it as soon as possible, and we fully understand why because they deserve it.
Yeah.
But the all the teams, all the the owners, they're almost there. They're ready to kind of get over that edge. They just need one more push. I think this CBA is that push coming up to really get them to go that full investment that these teams deserve.
What do you think about an average salary? When do you how long do you think it will be before we see an average salary, a WNBA average salary? Let's say $1 million. How long do
Ooh.
you think that would be?
Well, I hate to be this guy, but we need the WNBA to fund itself first.
Yeah.
Uh, and I think that happens within the next 3, 4 years. I really do. I think they might even be close to even next season. Like that's so I'm not saying the WNBA is going to be trash and in the red for a long time, but that needs to happen first for sure, right? They need to get profitable. And then after that, give it 2 seasons. The CBA after they become profitable. So I don't think this CBA. I think they make a CBA. I think this CBA only lasts like a couple years. I don't see it lasting for that long because they know how rapidly expanding this thing is going. So I think
Yeah.
this CBA in 2026, lockout or not, is going to last maybe 2, 3 years, 4 max. And then you'll see after this 2020, the next one, that's when I think you'll see that average salary start to get up to 6, 7, 8, even close to touching that million. I think
Yeah.
that I think the top players, I think average salary to $1 million, that might take a while. But to the star players to getting to $1 million, give it, 6, 7 years, maybe even 5, right? For be optimistic, let's say 5 for the top player to get to a million. I think that might be it. Do you think that player though, this might make fans mad or might make fans really happy. Do you think that player will be Caitlin Clark, the first player to get a
Absolutely.
$1 million contract?
Absolutely. I think well, also it depends on how these contracts work because we see things like Jaylen Brown being the highest paid NBA player,
Yeah.
or OG Anunoby being the highest paid Knick of all time. Like it's all how everything kind of works out, how the contracts
Yeah.
work out, who comes in, because it might be Juju who might be the first
Yeah.
person
Could be.
who's
Right.
like
Right. Right.
But
Yeah.
if it is Caitlin Clark, I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised at all. And why would anybody be mad? Because that girl deserves it. She put in all.
You know how it is, bro.
Yeah, I honestly won't even get into any of that stuff. That like,
You know how
please
it is,
leave
bro.
that girl alone,
Yep.
because like like what she's doing for this game, it's impactful. It's impactful, and I can even argue how she's helping with the WNBA game. If the NBA gets their thing together for All-Star Weekend, she will also help the NBA game the way that Sabrina helped the NBA game last
Yeah.
year in the
Yeah.
in the All-Star game, because it's a dying it's dying, like it's
It
literally
is.
dying. But
Definitely is.
Caitlin Clark, deservedly so. And on my last pod with Alfred, I actually said this with Alfred because we were talking about possible landing destinations, and he's like, "Yo, if Satu went to Indiana." I'm like,
Mm.
yo, look, if Satu goes to Indiana, it's gonna be a problem. I already in my heart of hearts feel that Indiana next year, and again, call me crazy if you'd like, I think they're going to be a top 4 or 5 team next year,
Okay.
just off of the addition of Stephanie White, and me
Yeah.
knowing that Caitlin Clark next year is going to be assassin levels of like she's had a full 42 games to play to figure this out. Now she's resting, she's working. Caitlin Clark is going to F this league up next year. And if
Mm.
she has somebody like Satu there, but the biggest thing for me is just adding Stephanie White to the mix. I think that was huge. Somebody who's been with the Indiana teams when they were winning, who knows what it takes to win.
Yeah.
A great defensive coach. I think it's like Liberty, we have to win now. We have to continue to win now, because when Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever figure it out, it's a
Yeah.
wrap. It's a wrap for this league. I'm telling you that. And
Yeah.
I know people are looking at, they're like, oh nah, he's going. Whatever the situation, you'll see. And I will have this clip here for you guys, and I will replay this when I tell you Indiana's going to go crazy.
I believe
That's
you.
my thought.
I believe when you say you keep receipts, bro. You got receipts still from Aces fans, bro. You still
Oh
got
yeah.
receipts.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We always gonna keep those receipts, man. You know what it is. Um, so today's a historic day, actually. Today's a historic or historic day if you want to get crazy with the words. But tonight at 7 p.m., we spoke about it a little bit, is the tip off the inaugural season for Unrivaled basketball, Unrivaled Hoops 3-on-3, modified court. Brianna Stewart and Nafisa Collier bring this to you. This will be tipping off on TNT tonight. What are your overall thoughts on Unrivaled, and how where do you see this, like where do you see Unrivaled going, and how much can it impact the game of the college game, the international game, and the WNBA?
I think Unrivaled is groundbreaking to sports. The way that they have unrolled and rolled out this thing through social media, it is the league of the future in terms of, off season and kind of this kind of specialty league um, based off of a sport. I truly think it's groundbreaking because I've never seen so many people want to tune into somebody's X page to see a hint of a new player. I've never seen that, no matter what. And they were so creative with it. They were breaking new barriers with what they have going on, and then you have the business model behind it, the equity stake, and how these players are getting directly funded for how good the league is. Honestly, how the difference that itself makes brings out a whole different conversation. Let's flip it to the NBA, which is obviously dying, which we've talked about. What's one of the biggest problems we see with the NBA? We feel like these NBA players don't give a rat's, They don't give
Yeah.
anything about, playing defense at times. We talk about the All-Star game. Nobody gives a crap about the All-Star game. They just kind of show up and throw lobs. What if there was some real equity on the line? What if there was some real, money coming in for these guys? Maybe they'll care a little bit more. I think that's the next level of stuff we talk about with these teams. I'm not saying you bring that to the professional sports, but I'm saying that what they're doing, it not only is promoting, more exposure for these women who deserve it, but they're promoting a brand and type of basketball that is going to be not only enjoyable to watch, but is going to be the pinnacle of the sport. Like imagine an all-star a season where it's just the top three players battling it out every single night. I'm tuning into that. You're telling me you're not? I don't want to watch a team where, like the Charlotte Hornets who stink, who suck. I'm not watching them one night. But I'm never like what are the games again? Friday. Oh, I feel so bad. Yeah, throughout the week. I'm misremembering the days, but I'm tuning in every single night because there's a star every single night, whether it's Stewie, whether it's Fee, whether it's Sab, Satu, right? These teams are loaded. Who doesn't want to watch that? It's every single night. I think 3v3 is the most exciting way to watch basketball in this kind of way. And the way that they unrolled it through social media, man, I'm telling you, it's next level. It is literally the pinnacle, and it sets the standard for the rest of sports. Literally sports.
It definitely does. It definitely does. And you kind of just see the rollout. I know this was announced in 2023. And one of the big things that I like is just to see all of the investors that have, kind of come. You got D Wade, you a bunch of big names, but the name that stood out to me the most was Coco Gauff, because she was the last person to be announced as an investor, and it automatically brought me back to the 2023 season when she won her U.S. Open, but also that 2023 season is Stewie's first season. Stewie comes in and wins WNBA MVP, and what does she do? In her MVP speech, she quotes Coco's speech about I'm trying to throw water on my fire, but you were really adding gas, and now I'm shining so bright. And then to kind of see this get to this moment, I think it's super dope because it's kind of like I don't know if Stewie was kind of like trying to throw a little something on just to know Coco, like, yo, Coco, I'm watching, I need you.
Yeah.
But this this was, I think it's super dope to see how everything is like kind of coming into fruition, to see how these teams and leagues are together. And also a year like because this is NYLFTV, I got the shot in the back. Teaspoon after having the year that she's had, and kind of being dismissed from Chicago after one season, after she did a pretty good job, to get another opportunity with Unrivaled. And I thought it was super dope because I was on a Zoom yesterday. I didn't get called on, and someone stole my question. But I wanted to speak to her about the fact that her being in the inaugural games of the WNBA in 1997 and now coaching in 2025 in the inaugural games of Unrivaled. I think
Yeah.
that's such a huge, like, because you think about where the game was in 1997 and in 2025, from the game, players from that game that you played, that you helped become a pioneer of, have created, another way for players who play that WNBA game to work on their games in the off season, to do different things, to stay home, to stay in the States. I think it's like, it's amazing. It's amazing just to see those things kind of come into fruition.
Yeah, bro. I mean, the fact that I love it, what it is for coaching as well. I mean, what my immediately when the teams were first getting rolled out, and I was like, oh, I'm definitely a Mist fan because of Stewie, obviously Sloot,
Yeah.
but also Phil Handy, one of my favorite coaches just
Exactly.
in basketball. Is the fact that not only coaches who maybe didn't get the fair shot on another team like Teaspoon, or a coach like a Phil Handy, who one of the best in terms of working players out and helping players throughout an offseason, he
Player
actually gets
development.
to he gets to actually test his chops as an actual coach and have that tape on his resume now, to maybe a year or two down the line, he could become an NBA or WNBA coach, right? Like that to me matters so much as well. It's not just the players getting to make it a couple extra bucks, or being able to show out and be able to be on the stage, but also the coaches and whoever else works on it. Look how many more jobs are just being created because of this. Once again, I think what they're doing, we won't see replicated for a long time. I think that's how ahead of the game they are with it.
Yeah, absolutely groundbreaking. But like I said, Unrivaled tonight, 7 p.m. Will you be tuned in? Where you watching? You watching from the crib? You watching from home?
Yeah, I'm watching from the crib, bro. I gotta watch Stewie. I gotta watch Sloot against Fee and the Owls.
Oh
The
yeah.
Owls are pretty fun. Courtney Williams, Fee. That's a really fun team to watch as well.
I'm with the Mist all the way because like
Yeah.
you said, the Mist they just got some of my favorite play. They got Sloop, they got Brianna, obviously. But then you ask somebody like Aaliyah Edwards. I love Aaliyah Edwards' game. Like she's really good. Rakia Jackson.
Yeah.
Is Dejanay on that team too? No, Dejanay's not on
Dejanay
that team.
Dejanay's
No.
on the Mist.
Oh, she's on the Mist. Yeah, yeah. So Dejanay's on the Mist. Then we got Jewel Lloyd. That that's
Yeah.
a squad. I
Yeah.
can't wait. I can't wait to tune in tonight. It's gonna be dope. Um, we gonna cross over real quick because this is Bucket for Bucket podcast, and as I say on Bucket for Bucket podcast, we talk about the men, we talk about the women, but chivalry is not dead on Bucket for Bucket, so it's always ladies first. All
Yeah.
right. So now we're gonna transition to the NBA, and we're gonna talk some men's basketball, but we're not just gonna just talk NBA. We're gonna talk our beloved Knicks, okay? And I know some people are like, how can he just talk Liberty and go to Knicks? I am a Liberty fan by way of Knicks. For those who don't know, I'm a Liberty fan by way of Knicks, and it's always going to stay that way. But we have to speak about our current New York Knicks. First of all, Gabe, great work with what you do. All of the videos that you drop, in terms of just talking Knicks stuff.
Yeah.
There was one video that you dropped that we're gonna speak about too, about the greatest point guards,
Okay. Yeah,
and
let's
where
do it.
JB's ranked. So I love that too, that conversation too. But man, the New York Knicks standing in the number 3 spot in the Eastern Conference, as we expected. Most teams
Yeah.
think they're the third best team at 27-15. What are your overall thoughts of the New York Knicks season thus far? And don't even talk to me about Tom Thibodeau because we're going to speak about that next. We're
Yeah. Yeah. So kind of fans are in this weird spot with the Knicks this season. After the Karl Anthony Towns trade, everyone was like, "Oh, this is the trade. Now we're all in, right? We're all in on making this thing happen, especially getting Mikal Bridges as well. They're all in on a championship." So throughout this whole start of the first half of the season, Knicks fans, that's the only thing that's been on their mind is win a championship, championship, championship. But as the season starts to tick by, even though it's been a great start to the season, you're seeing fans, not even fans, but you're seeing more people starting to not admit, but they're starting to maybe acknowledge that maybe this year might not be it. That this team is really good, but this team isn't isn't the championship contender that they were led to believe. And I don't think I think that fans had it wrong to begin with. I don't think that they were going to win a championship this year regardless. I've always thought that you get these massive, big, not super teams, but you know what these collections of talent on a team. The first season is usually never a championship. It's usually the second year, third year when they really
Yeah.
get their legs and get their minds with each other, that chemistry. So I think the fans are kind of in this weird spot to where they want to contend and they know that they're right there, but realistically is they're probably not right there. So they're kind of juggling that right now. So every fan is either talking about Tom Thibodeau, which we'll get to, or they're talking about Mikal Bridges struggling. They're talking about OG struggling. And they talk about the bench. Oh my God, the bench they talk about so much. And all these things. But once again, I know I'm long-winded all the time, but I think once again, we're kind of in this weird limbo where we think that they might be able to contend, but it probably just won't happen this year.
Yeah, and I agree with you 100%, and I'll tell you why.
Mm.
Exactly why I don't think they'll contend this year. So you said something about the Karl Anthony Towns trade because I got something different. When that Karl Anthony Towns trade happened, I had a bunch of because it's for me, it's like Knicks fans didn't necessarily know what they wanted. I spent
No.
all these past years listening to Knicks fans trade Julius Randle, trade like cry for it. And then the night that it happened, everybody's like, "Oh no, no, oh this," and Dante DiVincenzo, "Oh no, Julius," and we're talking about acquiring an all-star in Karl Anthony Towns, one of the best shooting bigs in NBA history, and we were having conversations that were just like, this didn't make sense. You're talking about a turnover-prone Julius Randle, averages like 4 turnovers a game as a Knick, maybe more on some nights, and this trade happens, and everybody's talking about, oh, Cat soft. Do you hear Cat's voice? And
Yeah.
there was just a bunch of weird stuff online that kind of bothered me, and I'm like, this man is 20 and 15 on most nights. And I'm just really excited because I actually did a video on this, kind of just like telling Knicks fans to chill out. Like, look at what you let out the door versus what you got. You got efficiency. You got somebody who's not unselfish. You got somebody who's already played with another ball dominant player. You've got somebody who's also played with another big in the post who's just there all the time with Rudy Gobert, and they were able to make it work out a little bit. So when I think about Karl Anthony Towns, I think about what he can do with Mitchell Robinson once he's healthy. Just I feel like the Knicks need to play through Karl Anthony Towns a little bit more. Now, when I look at the Knicks in the third place, 27 and 15, and in
Mhm.
my mindset, in my heart of hearts, I believe that they could have been better. I think losing 15 games at this point in the season, and just to see a team like the Cleveland Cavaliers who've only lost 6 games, and you look at the OKC Thunder who only lost 6 games. They saw each other again last night.
Yeah.
Um, I don't feel like we're trusting our team enough because we have talent on this team. And then when you look at those minutes being played, me personally, I know you made a video on this. I know you told Knicks fans we got to chill out with
Yep.
Tom Thibodeau. I love Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is a great coach. He's a good head coach.
Yeah.
Awesome, awesome. He was with my Knicks in the 90s. So I know what's up with Tibbs. But me personally, in my heart of hearts, I don't feel like Tom Thibodeau is the coach who's going to get this job done. He's a great program starter. He's done a great job with this program. But when you're looking at um, teams and you're looking at a top 10 and minutes played, and we're just not even halfway through the season, it does kind of feel like you're setting our team up for burnout. It does feel like Tom Thibodeau hasn't learned from his past mistakes. When you look at it, was just Derrick Rose night the other day. I know other people won't necessarily blame him, but I personally put it on Tom Thibodeau for the amount of minutes. Gabe, just look at that team in general. Look at Luol Deng. Look at Taj Gibson. Look at Joakim Noah. Look at how all of their careers ended after playing with Tom Thibodeau. They've played an elongated amount of minutes, and it's like, okay, cool. We get paid to play basketball, but also you're human. The human body is going to shut down at a certain point. The human body, no matter how much you want to be LeBron James and put 1 million on your body, Father Time is undefeated. No matter
Yep.
how old you are, Mikhail being the Iron Man of the league, it's unfortunate that we might see Tom Thibodeau mess up that Iron Man record. I just think playing 40 minutes a game and all of that stuff, I think it's a little bit crazy because we have to get to April. We're not It's not even nice outside. We have to get to April. We have to get these guys healthy. And when you have a player as unhealthy as OG Anunoby, who is now the highest paid Knick in franchise history, playing 40 minutes a game, I think that's insanity. I
Yeah.
think that's insanity. What are your thoughts on Tom Thibodeau and the minutes, and do you think he's the coach that can get them to the promised land?
Yeah, so when you look at the stats and you see that out of the top 10 in minutes played, I think you started to reference it. The top 10 in minutes played right now, all five of the Knicks starters are in that top 10, with Cat being in that 10th spot. And then you look at in terms of you look at the players or the three-man lineups with the most minutes, 7 out of the top 8 of those three-man lineups are all Knicks lineups. And fundamentally, I think that is a problem. I think that is a problem. You cannot have a team, any team, I don't care if you're the best team, worst team, a team in the middle, you can't have any team overusing your players like that, especially because I know that everyone talks about this bench being bad, subpar bench. I actually am pretty
It's
high on
not.
this bench. I think
This
it's
bench is a really good bench.
a pretty damn good bench. So I think think, especially if you got the bench players, might as well use. Every time I talk about a coach, I always myself, and I cannot find somebody until maybe recently that I would want over Tom Thibodeau. At least a sidestep. I don't think there is one because once again, if this team is trying to win a championship either this year or next year, you don't want a rookie coach. You don't want to pull what the Lakers are doing, JJ Redick, and get somebody rookie coach or maybe doesn't have a lot of experience and try to make him, the savior and try to win you guys a championship. You need someone with experience. You need someone who knows his way around it. The problem is the guy that they have right now, a little bit stuck in his ways. So do we love the grandpa who's stuck in his ways, or do we try to find a new guy with innovative ideas that might be better off, but we just aren't certain of it yet? That's another thing that Knicks fans are kind of juggling right now.
I think that guy was there and they missed their opportunity big time. And one of the biggest things that I regret from the Knicks this offseason was letting Johnny Bryant walk and go to the Cleveland Cavaliers. I felt like he should have had a more expanded role with the New York Knicks. His development with those young players really, really respect Johnny Bryant. He's doing great. He's doing a phenomenal job in Cleveland. I thought, in my heart of hearts, I felt like Johnny Bryant should have been that guy. If we wanted to go that rookie route, you put Johnny Bryant there and you surround him with veteran associates. I believe that's something that that could work. But for me, the guy who I think can win with this team, unfortunately, is wasting his time in Los Angeles, and that's Tyronn Lue. One of my favorite coaches right now. And if you look at Tyronn Lue's record, somebody who hasn't played many games with a healthy Paul George and Kawhi, and still well above 500 with the Clippers. What he's done, winning a championship in Cleveland, I think he's a really, really good basketball coach. Underrated, defensive first, and he's not afraid to get into his players. He don't care who you are. He did it to LeBron James in the finals. He'll definitely do it to Jalen Brunson and Cat. I think for me, he's just a better coach in terms of getting that job done. Again, coaches like Tom Thibodeau, coaches like Doc Rivers, I really believe that they're just kind of like stuck in their ways. They still kind of feel like we're playing 90s basketball. And what I want more from them is to be more like a Greg Popovich, somebody who was playing a system, who played a certain system, played inside out, but also realized like, yo, the game is changing, so I need to change with the game as well. And that's why he's one of the greatest coaches to ever play this game and has that longevity that he has. I know he's out right now for health purposes, but that's why Greg Popovich has stood the test of time and been able to be successful, because I don't think he's as hard and tough as a coach as Pop is. He's not stuck in his ways. He's not Mike Woodson. Mike Woodson, like those coaches that are like stuck in their ways, it's so bad to watch. It's so bad to watch. And like I said, I know people are listening to this. Oh, he hates Thibodeau. I love Tom Thibodeau. Tom Thibodeau is the reason why the New York Knicks are back in relevancy. When you talk about somebody who thought he was coming here to get maybe a Kevin Durant, and we remember how that all started and ended up with Julius Randle. He helped Julius Randle to get 3 All-Stars, to get those, like what we saw from Julius Randle as a Knick, we will never see from Julius Randle again. I don't think Julius Randle will ever be an All-Star again. I don't think he's ever making an All-NBA team again. We're not going to see that. Tom Thibodeau was one of those people who got him there. When we talk about that playoff run, he had Alfred Payton and certain guys that are just like, these are really good role players, but that style of basketball, he helped them get there. So what I just need him is to unstubborn a little bit and, work on some of those offensive plays. Tell JB to get that ball out of his hands. There's times in the game where I'm just like, yo, JB's playing great, but we should probably play through Cat. We should get this ball out to Josh Hart, who's also an excellent facilitator. There's just certain things that I feel that Tom Thibodeau enables his star players, and he just kind of stays on them and rides them for too long to the point of there might be no return. I watch Knicks games, and I literally get scared, Gabe, when we're up by a lot, and I'm just like, yo, why the hell is JB still in the game? Why is this happening? OG Anunoby, every time he jumps up for something, I'm like, oh my gosh. Because I know how it works. Especially somebody who is as injury prone as OG Anunoby. I'm just like, yo, we have to like be smarter with their minutes and stuff like that. That's just my overall thoughts on Thibs.
My overall thoughts on Thibs, I will say this. I want if there's a coach, available coach, because I know you mentioned Tyronn Lue, who's obviously with the Clippers doing his thing. If there's an available coach that I think might do a similar to better job, it might be Mike Brown, right? Obviously just got fired from Sacramento, but which some people would say, oh, well, that means he's not a good coach if he got fired from Sacramento, didn't do enough there. But the players loved him. I just think the problem with Sacramento is their team just wasn't that great. You look at their roster, they're just not that good.
You think so?
I don't think they're that good, bro. DeMar DeRozan, old. I mean, you have some young pieces there. Ellis is a good defensive guy. Fox, obviously stud. But DeRozan, I think, is just old.
Sabonis.
Sabonis is a good player, really good
Keegan
player.
Murray's pretty good.
Yeah, but I don't. I mean, you look at the West, bro. The West
Yeah.
isn't. Maybe if you put Sacramento in the Eastern Conference, maybe I think top 4 or 5 team, but I just don't see it out West. Anyway, my point is that you get Mike Brown over here, and maybe, I mean, he's had great experience. He was in during the dynasty years of the Warriors. He knows he coached LeBron for a little bit. Get him back. Players seem to love him. But yeah, but I personally, I can't go without Tom Thibodeau because of this one reason. The players love Tom Thibodeau too much. We talk about Tom Thibodeau hurting his guys. We talk about Tom Thibodeau overplaying his dudes. But bro, the players will do anything for Tom Thibodeau. Like,
It's a family. The Knicks are a family. Like, you look at that,
yeah,
the fact that Rick Brunson is on that bench, this guy's godfather, this person, like, it's an actual. That's why I loved what Worldwide West and what these guys have been doing. We go back to that picture years ago that we've made fun of. I made fun of with Worldwide West. Like, he was sitting down and he was kind of sleeping. And we're
yeah,
like, yo, is this what he's been doing this whole time? And it was like, nah, I'm just kind of resting and letting this play. Like, let them play checkers. We're playing chess over here. And you look at what this organization has done, it's a family oriented thing. But I don't want them to be like, like, hold on to this whole family thing too much and forget, like, yo, this is a business and we are the Knicks organization and we
yeah.
need to win it all. All right. We need to win it all. And as for Mike Brown, the only thing that I have for Mike Brown is, only problem I have with Mike Brown is that you had LeBron and you weren't able to win. That that's my only thing. It's like, yo, you
That's
had
true.
LeBron and you wasn't able to win. And for
Those
me,
teams were not good though. Like,
yeah,
let's
they
be honest,
weren't. They weren't.
not good.
Yeah,
We
they
had
weren't.
Antoine Jameson, old as dirt on those teams.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
So Dranis, Ogaskis, and yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. You're right. But for me, it's again, like I said, I just want to see somebody who's won already, like
yeah,
somebody who has that experience and has that championship acumen, who could help these guys get to that next level. I don't see it right now from Tibbs and the current coaching staff. But I feel like if they change that, this roster is talented enough. And I'm even shocked at Tibbs, shocked and disappointed at Tibbs for leaning so much on the call Anthony Towns at center.
yeah.
I'm not a fan of that. I'm really not a fan of that. Like, he plays
Right.
great. He's a great rebounder, but you have somebody like Jericho Sims. I saw you did a video earlier in the season about how well Sims was protecting the rim. You have
Yeah,
somebody like Ariel Hookporty, who's, they're rookie, like, he's a rookie, but he has some good basketball in him. I just thought we would see that big lineup that Tibbs normally likes, a Joakim Noah next to Taj Gibson,
yeah,
like something like that. And we saw the stats at the start of the season. Cat was like letting opposing a big shoot like 90% at the. It was
yeah,
crazy.
yeah,
It was
yeah.
crazy. Mitchell Robinson is not doing something like that. I know he's injured, but when Mitch comes back, do you think it's going to be a situation of Mitch coming off of the bench? How would you like to see this starting lineup play? For me personally, I'd like to see Mitch in the starting lineup, and I think Josh Hart is the player that should come off of the bench. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think Josh Hart definitely would come off the bench in your situation. For me, I'm keeping the starting lineup the same, but it doesn't mean the rotations throughout the game are the same. I think that throughout the game, I think you will see a lot more of Mitch and Cat. The only thinking that I have, the reason why you don't have that big end Cat right now is because I don't think honestly Cat enjoys having that second big player in the paint. Because the big thing we talk about Cat, yes, he's a great shooter, but he also likes getting to the rim. We also, people call him soft, but he's aggressive when he gets into the rim we saw a couple posters throughout the season already when he gets down there. So I really do think that maybe Cat just enjoys the spacing of not having another big log in the middle of the paint, kind of, clogging the paint for him. That's the only reasoning. But throughout a game, I definitely think when Mitch Robb comes back, or if they make a trade for a backup big, I do think that you will see that lineup a good amount, especially if they play a team like the Cavs or play a team like the OKC Thunder again. You will see that big lineup more and more often. I think the starting lineup stays the same, but throughout the game, I do think that you'll see that bigger lineup throughout it. But that's if Thibs plays the guys, right? So, at the end of the day.
Yeah, so let's talk about bigs because if Mitch isn't able to come back and healthy, is there what bigs do you like? Do you think that the Knicks could possibly trade for?
It's tough because the only ones that are really out there and available aren't great on defense. You talk about Nurkic, who apparently nobody wants use of Nurkic. You talk about Vucevic. He's apparently a really cheap guy, but he could give you 20 points in a game. But what's the defense?
He's gonna give up 40.
He's going to give up 40. Exactly. The guy that I wanted so badly that just got traded was Nick Richards. He would have been perfect on the back of this bench. He's averaging a double-double right now, and with 1.7 blocks per game. I don't know how the Knicks could swing that trade because it was like a pick swap and 2 second-round picks and Josh Okogie for Nick Richards and a pick. So you're telling me you couldn't do that if you're the Knicks, if you're Leon Rose? I think that was a big miss because that was a defensive anchor right there that they really could have gotten. Because without Mitch, and let's be honest, he's overweight right now. If you see him on the bench, he does not look like he's in great playing shape right now. So when he comes back, is he going to be all that good? I don't even know. So I think you have to try to find a way to maybe trade Mitch, maybe trade for another guy. But I just don't see it. I just don't have anybody in mind anymore after Nick left. Jonas Valanciunas, yeah, I mean that's a name for sure. I don't know. I think that would be the best bet for the Knicks. The only thing that I'm kind of reserved about for Jonas Valanciunas is I still think he's kind of slow. When in terms of offense, him working with Cat would never work. In my opinion, I think he's too big and slow to really work with Cat well. I think Cat would be a little uncomfortable working with him. But if they make the trade, I'd still be happy about it because the Knicks need a backup center. They've needed it all year. So or another big man on the team.
Even though they already have it. Even though they already have it.
Exactly. Yes. Even though they have it.
We just need somebody that Tom Thibodeau's trust. The guy that I really wanted the Knicks to go after and pursue, the asking price is way too high. Utah's going to try to fleece Walker Kessler. I think he is a really underrated big. That game that we played against them this year, I think they actually beat us. The Utah Jazz did beat us. Yeah. You saw what Walker Kessler could bring to the table, and it was just he dominated Cat, to be honest with you, from my perspective. But Walker Kessler, I think that's somebody who I would love to see in the Knick uniform if we don't get a healthy Mitch. Mitch is my guy. I think he's one of the best defensive centers. But you just brought up a point about his weight right now, especially off those switches.
By the way, I don't know, because I just saw this before we hopped on. I was scrolling on Twitter. When Mitch Robinson right now weighs 268 pounds, which for him is big. Now, I don't know what his weight is. Yeah, so he before the season when they weighed him or like on his official NBA on ESPN.com, he's 240 pounds. And that's 240 pounds, Mitch, of him being, he could still fly up there. He could, really be an athletic specimen that we know he is. He's almost 30 pounds heavier right now. And that's with him nuts. He's starting to work out. So he could have been more. He could have been 270s a couple weeks ago before he really started to work out. So that's why it's a concern for me looking at Mitch. If he's overweight and he's just not able to move like we expect Mitch Robb to move, that's a big concern. Yeah, that's a big concern.
He'll be right back out because again, you already know like OG, like other players, Mitch is a paperweight. He's dealt with a lot of injuries over time.
Yeah.
I don't think Mitch has played one healthy season as a Knick. His high, like, what's the most games that Mitch played as a Knick in one
I'll
season? Let me.
I'll tell you right now. Right now, Mitch, his career high was 72 games in 2022.
2022, 72 games. We are 3 years removed from his career high, and that's crazy. So
Yeah.
that's alarming to me, to be honest with you, to hear that he's put on weight. Because at the end of the day, I know he might be injured, but I still feel like as a ball player, you should still be able to kind of like
Yeah.
keep yourself, in check and get ready to kind of prepare for everything. With Mitchell Robinson, I think it's different in the sense of like, we're not missing 20 points per game. We're not coming in, we're not running plays for you. We're not asking you to do anything, but kind of just be mobile, be light on your feet, be able to continue to average 5 offensive rebounds, slap that ball out like Tyson Chandler used to, protect the rim, like do stuff like that. That's what I want from Mitchell Robinson. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm putting him on a trading block if I see him to hit 270, because
Yeah.
I can't do it. I know he's
Yeah.
not going to stay healthy, but like that's tough. That's
Yeah.
tough. I can't with that. Julius Randle will get his opportunity to get some revenge tomorrow. The Knicks will see Minnesota. The Knicks will host the Timberwolves.
Mhm.
Um, the Timberwolves are kind of like really they're kind of down right now. Um, do you think who won this trade? Do you think the Timberwolves are currently experiencing too much Julius Randle, and this is why they are 21 and 19, just 2 games above 500, and yeah, like, what are your do you feel like we dodged a bullet by kind of getting rid of Julius Randle?
I don't know if we dodged a bullet by getting rid of Julius Randle, but I will say that I was one of the biggest guys saying to trade Julius Randle. Not because he wasn't a good player, but because he just didn't seem to fit and always seemed to be a clog or a cog in what the Knicks were really trying to do at certain times in games. Now, I mean, let's just look at the facts, right? Karl Anthony Towns is a top 5 MVP candidate right now.
Mm-hmm.
Julius Randle is turning over the ball late in games when he's no because he doesn't want to pass to the best player on his team, right? Like that to me means everything. That to me just shows you kind of the difference of where these players were and are. Like it's obvious to me that the Knicks won that trade. It's been obvious for me since kind of the first week of the season when Cat was, dropping 30 and 15 a night. I'm like, yeah, we won this trade without a doubt. And now, you mentioned he's going to come back but with that being said, he's coming back tomorrow to the Garden. He better be getting a round of applause. He better be getting a standing ovation by the fans, right? Just because the Knicks won that trade and the Knicks have the better player from that trade does not mean you don't respect what Julius Randle did in his tenure with the New York Knicks. Because yes, he had his downs. Yes, he declined a bunch of interviews, didn't go to post-game press conferences, right? Yes, he did all of that stuff. But on the flip side, he gave you everything he damn had. And he brought this team from a point of no relevance at all and helped spark what has now become the team that we see today. So we don't have Karl Anthony Towns, obviously, without Julius Randle. We don't have the team we have now contending to win a championship if Julius Randle didn't sign that contract in, what was it, 2019, right? Yeah. So, I just want to make sure that's known, right? I don't want to be seen as a guy that's, hated Julius Randle. Julius Randle, really good player, foundational piece to what we have building, or what we built so far. But let's be honest here. Karl Anthony Towns leaps and bounds beyond a guy like Julius Randle.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember at one point, some fans would argue about the two when we were talking about the Cats and Knicks, and some Knicks fans did not want this. And they spoke about that. But as you mentioned with Julius Randle, he deserves a standing ovation when he comes to Madison Square Garden. He was one of my favorite Knicks, and I loved him because he embodied New York. Like he embodied what it was to be tough. He just put his head down, bully ball. He was a Broadway bully. All right. So that's what I like about Julius Randle. He didn't miss a lot of games. It was just those 2 times Miami took him out. Literally back-to-back seasons, Miami took Julius Randle out, which is crazy. So Yeah, like it was just tough stuff like that, but he embodied New York. So when Julius Randle gets announced, I hope he gets a loud standing ovation for everything that he did. I hope he and his family get to experience that all of that love, because New York, at
Yeah.
the end of the day, we still got love for you. Once a Knick, always a Knick. You know how that
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah.
Now, so I've been a Knick fan since 1994, Gabe. I've been here for a long time, right?
Yeah.
So I haven't seen many great point guards. I know who the greatest point guard in Knick history is, but that was far removed from, like, I never got I just got to see him on first of all, shout out to Clyde, because he did come
Yeah.
to my high school, Severian High School, when he came. I was playing varsity B at that time for Severian High School. He came to shoot a commercial at our school, and it was
Okay.
super dope just to be there, just watching him do his thing and his hooping and duping and all of the rhyming and everything. So shout out to Clyde, man. But I saw you posted something, and I was just like, yo, the reason why I love this is because I had this conversation with my guys on our group chat that the second greatest point guard in Knick history, hands down, is, who do you got, Gabe? Who you got?
It's Jalen Brunson right now. But it's insane because we don't even realize what we're watching, right? Like we watch this guy every night, and he'll drop 30. He'll do some cool stuff, and then we'll just turn the TV off and be like, "Oh, that was a really great night, man." We might have lost, but he played well. Or if he doesn't, if the Knicks do lose, we're like, "Man, Jalen Brunson was chucking tonight. Why couldn't he pass the ball?" And like, I understand both those sides because I'm with them, but take a step back just for 1 second for me and realize that what we're watching, right? Sometimes we as humans, we forget to take that step back. And right now we need to take a step back and realize that Jalen Brunson is literally might be the second best point guard in Knicks history. And if he wins a championship, right? And let's say over the next 5 years that he's with this team, he wins a championship and is competing for maybe another one. I might throw him in as the number one. I'm not nowhere close to there right now, but he might finish his career as the number one Knick of all time, right? Like let's think about that for just a second. I had so many people hitting me up after I made that video, and they were all telling me, bro, when you posted that video, I thought you were insane. I said, what the hell is this guy talking about? But then I kind of looked back and I started thinking, and I'm like, damn, you're 100% right. And that's the realization I had before I made that video. So I needed to let everybody know about that because it's a crazy realization what we're living in right now.
Let me tell you who my Knick point guards were. All right. I had Derek Harper, which is
Yeah.
awesome. He was awesome. I
Yep.
had Chris Childs. I had Charlie Ward. I had Chris Duhan, who I often called Chris Uhan because that man ain't play D. Um, who else? I had Raymond Felton. I had Jeremy Lin.
You know who else you had? You know who else had? The guy who got me into basketball, the first guy, my guy, Nate Robinson, right here.
Oh yes. Oh, I'm
Nate-
sorry. Yeah.
Nate Robinson, right here.
I
Yeah.
can't forget Nate. I can't forget Nate. Dunk champion Nate Robinson. He was the highlights of my Knicks. Him, David Lee, those guys were like huge. But those were my point guards. And then now you add somebody as in a Jalen Brunson, who was an MVP candidate to me last year.
Yeah.
Like Jalen Brunson is it. It's him. So I can't really necessarily think of anybody, especially at number two. And it's crazy because you just go back to that playoffs last year. We were really close to making it to a conference finals with just Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart. Like it was, that was like, it was phenomenal. So I like that you put it into perspective for Knicks fans to kind of just like step back and realize like, yo, we're watching a master at work. We're watching a master at work do his thing, and arguably can be the second greatest point guard in Knicks history. If he wins, we will speak about where he stands in that spot. But right now, the captain is doing an amazing job. First captain since who? Who was the last captain on the Knicks? What's this guy's name? Was it Lance Thomas or somebody? I forget who.
Might have been Lance.
Which is crazy, to me. So it's like, and I love Lance, was cool role player, but captain, I didn't think like, that's nuts. But
Yeah.
yeah, as I said, you made a great point with that. I do think that he is the second greatest point guard in Knicks history, and
And I don't when I made that video, I was like, not only is that a testament how good Jalen Brunson is, but also I was like, man, the Knicks have not had any good point guards. Like, bro, remember so in 2021 when they made that run with Alfred Payton, right? When Derrick Rose was doing his thing, right? And Derrick Rose really got them late in that season. It was Derrick Rose that was kind of pushing them through that
yeah,
playoff run. I was like, bro, Derrick Rose has been, and he was an old Derrick Rose. I was like, bro, Derrick Rose has been the best point guard in the Knicks over the last like 15 years.
he was. He
It
literally
was
was.
crazy. It was
So
crazy.
Jalen Brunson pretty much just passed Derrick Rose. For a second. So now it's Clyde, Jalen Brunson, and Derrick Rose in terms of greatest point guards in Knicks history. So just remember that. Just remember. Yeah, man. But for you, what is a successful Knicks season? Before we wrap this up, I want to know
Yeah.
what is a successful Knicks season for you? Like, is it going to the conference finals? Is it winning it all? Is it just doing better than we did last year? What's success for you?
It's making to the conference finals for sure. My fear is that for fans is that they lose in the second round again, and Nick fans are like, "Oh, we did all this. We traded 5 first-round picks for McCall. We traded one of our franchise core pieces in Julius Randle for Karl Anthony Towns, and we did the exact same thing. How is that possible?" And they all get pissed off about Leon Rose, about how he wasted assets to get Mikal Bridges. I don't want to even deal with that. Get to the Eastern Conference Finals and everything, and I'll be happy, right? And they should have been to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. Once again, injuries screwed them over, and that happened. The reason why these guys play 40 minutes a night is because in the playoffs, the other teams aren't used to playing 40 minutes a night. And the Knicks will be used to playing 40 minutes a night, and they'll win that kind of testament of strength and have that stamina to outlast these other teams. That's the goal with Tom Thibodeau. Will it happen? Lord knows, probably not. But make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm happy about it.
That's success. If the Knicks fall in the second round, how I feel, like I told my guys, I think that they are going to fall in the second round, maybe to
Yep.
the Milwaukee Bucks. But if they were to fall into the second round, do you think that's when we need to have that conversation about looking for a different voice in that locker room?
That's when I'll field it. If they go to the second round, right, or God forbid anything worse than that, that's when I would do it. Because once again, right, I just said it 2 seconds ago. The reason Tom Thibodeau is the way he is to prepare them for the playoffs, right? For where everything matters so much more, apparently, right? So if these guys go into the playoffs and not only are they limping because they're all injured, but they just don't perform, then yeah, we got to have the conversation. And it's going to be tough for half of the Knick fan base that loves Tom Thibodeau, and it's going to be a joyous day for the other half of the Knicks fans that hate Tom Thibodeau. But it's going to be one of those kind of heart-wrenching days in Knicks history. But at that point, it'll be for the greater good. Right now, I think it's way too early, but I do agree with you.
For me, here's how I would like to see it happen. If it does happen, where we're moving on from Tom Thibodeau, I would like them to Brad Stevens the situation. Don't
Okay.
necessarily fire him. Give him a different role. Keep him with the Knicks organization and give him a different role just to keep it family.
Yeah.
Because he still has a lot. I still think he has a lot to in his noggin to help this team win.
Mhm.
Like I said, it's New York or nothing. All right. So if we were supposed to get to this, like I said, Brad Stevens, we watched Brad Stevens lose with that Celtics team all those years, and that
Yeah.
man got promoted. He got promoted.
Yeah.
Not all coach. That doesn't happen for all coaches. That
Yeah.
does not happen for all coaches. But for Tom Thibodeau, I think he's somebody who does deserve that. So if it were supposed to get to a point where we were moving on from Tibbs, I'd hope to see him somewhere else in a different position in the front office and help transition that new coach to get the Knicks to where they need to be. Um, that is all I had for just to speak Knicks because I told you it was burning. I had to speak to you about Tibbs in those minutes and,
Yeah.
and everything, and had to get your thoughts. But I don't have anything. Is there anything that I missed? Anything that you wanted to highlight or speak about?
Just one last thing, right? And this is for all the Knicks fans. trust Leon Rose in this trade deadline. Last year, a lot of fans were like, "Oh, what other move can we make?" They made the OG move, and everyone thought they were done. They got Bogdanovich. I thought that was a fantastic move. Obviously, Bogdanovich ended up getting his ankle hurt, and that screwed everything up. But trust Leon Rose to make a move similar to that, to get somebody else on this bench, a guy that Tom Thibodeau will trust, a veteran guy. I don't know who it is because you don't know who it is, because Leon Rose is the only man in the world that knows who he wants to get right now. And when that happens, we'll all look back to this clip and go, damn, Gabe, sometimes you are right about some things you say, and this is one of them. So trust Leon Rose. You know that man's cooking up something. He's playing chess. We're all playing checkers in this world of basketball.
Dope. I like that. I like that. So you heard it. Trust Leon. That's where we're gonna end this off. Knicks fans, trust Leon, trust the process. We're not gonna use that slogan, but we do have to. We do gotta trust. We gotta build trust. And again, this organization, this team, is doing what it has to do. New York is a buzz right now. We have the WNBA champions. We have contending basketball team. We have contending baseball teams. We have it's on fire right now. So we got to keep New York on fire. I am Kenny Saint-Vil of Bucket for Bucket Podcast and New York Liberty Fan TV. This is Gabe Zoda from SSN Liberty, and you do a lot of other stuff too. So drop all the platforms you work for. Please let us know. And again, before I go, I got to shout out this man, Gabe Zoda, for all the work that he has done this rookie season, covering the New York Liberty and all of the other stuff that you hear outside of that. This is the voice. This is Gabe. Let's go.
Yeah, I'd rather you guys follow me on the playbook, THE play PLAYBK on Instagram. Follow me on TikTok if it doesn't get banned in the next couple days. We'll see how that goes. But follow me on the playbook on all platforms that I'm on. Get in the conversations, man. I love conversations. I sometimes I'm wrong. I'll admit it. I got some crazy takes in my brain too, but join the conversation with me. That's what sports is about. It's not about being right or wrong every time. It's about having a conversation and having some fun while we do it. So join me on the playbook. During the Liberty season, I'll still be over there on SSN Liberty trying to help those guys out. But please, if I don't care about as much as the Liberty, I love Liberty. I don't care about that account as much as I care about the playbook. Please follow me on there, because that's what I'm really trying to grow and maybe make something of myself in this world.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I will drop that for you guys to follow. Again, like I said, playbook, some great videos, some great tidbits and snips and stuff like that. So please take a look out for that. This is New York Liberty Fan TV, presented by Bucket for Bucket Podcast. I am Kenny Saint-Vil. That is Gabe Zoda. Thank you for joining the show.
Bucket for bucket, let's go shot for shot. Bucket for bucket, let's go shot for shot. I called the night, so let's see who better.